Welcome to Fry Your Chickens, the podcast about facing fears, negativities, and self-doubts that can hold us back. Or as I like to call them, chickens. Get ready because it's time to tell those chickens that are holding you back to shut the cluck up. We will learn how real people did exactly that. I'm your host, Phil Barth. Let's get ready to fry.
AI is only as good as the emotional intelligence that you bring to it. It's
Wow.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Welcome to Fry Your Chickens, the podcast about facing fears, negativities, and self-doubts that can hold us back. Or as I like to call them, chickens. Get ready because it's time to tell those chickens that are holding you back to shut the cluck up. We will learn how real people did exactly that. I'm your host, Phil Barth. Let's get ready to fry. Welcome to the Fry Your Chickens podcast. My guest today is Kamilla Pinel. She's a keynote speaker and executive coach, the founder of You Dream, You Do Coaching. She's worked with global firms like JP Morgan Chase, Credit Suisse, and BNP Paribas. She helps leaders shift from burnout to balance. We first met in Chicago. I loved your message. We had great conversation after the event, and I said, I need to get you on my podcast. I mean, you're going to talk today about how AI and emotional intelligence work together, and I love that for frying chickens. Kamilla, welcome to the Fry Your Chickens podcast.
Whoop, whoop. Thank you, Phil. I'm so happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's just dive in, okay? All right, so let's dive in. Let's talk about artificial intelligence plus human intelligence. Tell me about your philosophy of how we should be using AI.
We should be using AI to help us. We should be using AI to make us be more who we are. So I think that, but first of all, like full disclaimer, I'm not a subject matter expert on AI at all, right? But I am subject matter expert on human intelligence, or at least close to that one. And where I think the biggest issue that we are seeing is that people get so lost in fears and in chickens, when it comes to AI, people don't know what to learn, what to study. We are in official information overwhelm place right now. And the one thing that people don't understand, it doesn't matter how much you study, because you can never learn AI to its full extent, at its complete complexity. Like, people who invented AI do not understand where the machine is taking us, right? So for us, really taking a step back and saying, okay, how can I use AI to benefit me? Rather than being terrified of AI taken away from us, I think that is where the magic is, like where really the magic is. That's what I've been seeing people struggling with, on and on.
I love the term information overwhelm. It's not overload anymore. It's overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely agree. You can't learn everything there is to know about AI. So I think what you're saying is, how can AI help? What can I do with this much, a little bit of knowledge of AI? How can that make my life better?
Yes, and if we start approaching situation from that standpoint, rather than approaching it from the standpoint of, let me try to fit myself into the AI box, we get a whole different plan for ourselves, right? So the truth is that AI is taking away jobs. The truth is that AI is taking away or replacing a lot of mundane tasks that we're doing. But instead of, and we've had that throughout history again and again and again and again. And there were always people who were able to adjust and adapt. And there were always people who stayed in the, if you will, victim mentality, right? And stayed in the place of like, the job has been taken away from me. It just has never been done this quickly. So AI is nothing new from the standpoint of innovation, because we've done that historically, right? Like different types of innovation. Internet came. Like, I mean, like so many things that have happened. But AI, with the newness of AI, really is the magnitude of how quickly it unfolds. So now we don't really have the time, we don't have the luxury of even one day, a month, like spending in our victim kind of mentality and saying, oh my God, I'm going to be replaced. That's it. Like life is over, right? So the questions are now, okay, what are some of the things that I know that are special about me that AI can never replicate? So one thing I do talk about in my talk is that being in, like coming from corporate, right? Like years of corporate experience, I remember feeling like super awkward around my 360 conversations. And every time you have the conversation, your manager comes in with a sandwich feedback. And for those who doesn't know, sandwich feedback is like saying something good, you know, opportunities, which in reality is where you are not that great, right? And something good again, so to leave you on a positive note. But like when people come in, it feels so fake. People don't care about the good stuff. All they focus on is opportunity, because they feel like unless they address opportunity, that's where their bonus depends on and all those things. So now is the time to stop focusing that much on the opportunities, because those are the ones a lot of times can be actually replaced by AI, and start focusing on our strength. What are we so good at that now we can actually use, whether AI or outside of AI, depends, right? To amplify it, to be stronger at that. Because if we are passionate and really good at something, like machine cannot do that, cannot take that away from us.
Wow. So AI can serve two purposes here. Number one, those opportunities might be something you could offload to AI. The way I think of it is AI is the world's smartest intern. So if I had an intern here and the feedback, my opportunity was, you're not very good at scheduling meetings, and the emails you write are too mean. Well, if I had an intern here, I would say, go schedule those meetings and take this email and make it nice. And that's exactly what AI can do. And then I think the other thing you're saying is, then we focus on where our strengths are, where the bread on the, and not in the formal reviews, but outside the formal reviews, we called it the shit sandwich, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the bread. Here's all the stuff your
I
manager
love
wants
it. I
to
actually
dump
have
on
not
you.
heard the shit sandwich, but it's awesome. That's really the truth of it.
Yeah, and then sometimes it was an open face shit sandwich. Hey, you forgot any of the good stuff. Anyway, so the bread, the stuff I'm really good at, that's where I can use AI to make me even better. Is that
Exactly.
correct?
Yeah, and that's when AI is not your intern anymore. It's your mentor. But you have to know the questions to ask, right? You have to know. So it's not like, oh yeah, you're doing great job. That's not what we want. We want to ask, if you were, and come up with a mentor that we actually have in that field, right? So somebody we're looking up to, if you were that person, how would you challenge me? How would you help me to get better at this skill? But let me take a step back. Before we even get there, what's most important is us actually recognizing those strengths. And most people I work with, like when a coach, you know how people come in and people are like, well, I don't want to brag, but I'm kind of, people say good at this. But all these things about me suck. That's great. There's just like a little thing that I'm good at. Maybe we have to stop that. We have to own our power. We have to own the fact that we are good at certain things and we suck at certain things, right? And if we didn't suck, we wouldn't have grown. So like that's an opportunity, right? But actually recognizing, having enough emotional intelligence to say, I am I know what I'm good at, I know my strength, and I'm ready to actually have and use those strengths to empower me and for me to bring those forward and to see what I can actually do with them. That is where AI is, I wouldn't say like helpless, because it can help us.
Right.
but it's not something that it's not a threat.
Yeah, so it's like a coach. Major League Baseball players have coaches. The coach can coach them on how to be better. The coach is not good enough to play Major League Baseball, but they coach. So it's kind of like that, where I can have a virtual mentor to help me with delivery, with keynote jokes, you name it. I can get help from AI on that.
Yes, and so as a coach, I'll tell you that in order to be coached by AI, you have to have such a deep and profound understanding of yourself, because otherwise AI just leads you in the exact direction where you want to go or where you
Ooh.
think you want to go, right? So if we don't have enough depth, which most of us, like a lot of people know what their problems are, but how many people actually go after those problems and try to solve them?
Mm.
Knowing doesn't help, right? So when we feed AI information from like what we want basically to hear back, when we don't try to challenge ourselves deep enough, that's when AI is also like cannot really help us, right? So AI is only as good, that's going back to emotional intelligence. AI is only as good as the emotional intelligence that you bring to it. It's
Wow.
garbage in, garbage out.
That's really impressive. So you might have heard me, because I complain about it quite a bit, that I have turned Chat GPT into a kiss ass. And that's
Exactly.
and that's probably my own doing. Now, now I have other models that are more brutal on me, because look, I started day one with Chat GPT, so I didn't really, you don't know what you don't know. And so I'm all polite and and not bragging and things like that. Now that I'm into things like Claude, Perplexity, and so on, they don't have that 2 years of training where I inadvertently made it suck up to me with everything it writes. I also think, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think you could probably go back to ChatGPT and say, you are my mentor. You are relentless in terms of helping me focus on the areas I need to improve. You won't take no for an answer. When I try to brush past your question, don't let it, and you just set up that persona. Is that fair?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like again, like you can either have that have ChatGPT actually embody someone you want, like through whose lens you would like them to challenge you, or you can also you can actually train ChatGPT, right? You can say, okay, this is all great, but tell me 10 things, like from a critical standpoint. Tell me 10 things that I must improve. Tell me to take all the information that you have on the internet about the subject matter and tell me the 10 things I'm not doing to be the top performer, top manager, top culture leader, top speaker, whatever that is, right? So like you can actually ask for critical feedback, but again, like it goes back to like it can brainstorm with you. It becomes, again, I wouldn't call it coach, but I would definitely call it a really great brainstorming partner,
It,
as long as you know how to use that output and how to challenge it back.
nice. Now, first thing, I think coach was the wrong term. I think it could set me up where if I wanted to talk to a coach, I can do all of the ground laying with Chat GPT, so I can get to know myself better, and then I can talk to a coach such as you and say, okay, this is where I'm at right now, because now I need to go past what it learns on the internet and knows about me. I need to go to a human who's been there, right? It, I think of it like a doctor. Okay, Chat GPT can give me all the symptoms in the world, but at some point I need to go to the doctor who's got all that experience on how to help me, and that takes it the next level up. And it's also a matter, like you say, of emotional intelligence, and I need somebody with that.
Yeah. So I think that coaching is not necessarily where they haven't been in the place where you've been, right? That's not necessarily a skill of a coach. A skill of a coach is literally to see the movement in your, so I'm also like in an NLP and energy certified, like, right? So it's like when you share information with me, your eye twitches or you like make an uncomfortable movement, or you lower your gaze, you light up, right? So like those are the things that ChatGPT cannot pick up on. So I actually, for the first time ever, had a client recently who came to me saying that they've done all the kind of, they asked ChatGPT to really challenge them on their on their story, on their history, right? Like what are the problems? And they've actually outlined all those things. So and they sent it to me, and it was interesting to see how ChatGPT did excellent job like asking questions, and they've done an excellent job actually going like deep on self-exploration. But then at some point about next step, ChatGPT gives like the nice to have more generic steps. But that is where the reason why we don't take steps forward, again, is not because we don't know what to do, because most of us do, is because there is something within us, behind the surface within us, that doesn't let us do it. And those are the chickens, right? Those are the fears. Those are exactly. Those are the fears. Those are limiting beliefs. Those are the thoughts that we've carried, the ideas that we've carried from our upbringing, right? Like all those things that have shaped the person who we are, which made us successful that we are today, but also have limited us from moving forward, right? So like that is where the coach comes in. And that's where, again, without emotional intelligence, and no matter how much they say that AI is going to become emotionally intelligent, there are just certain things that I at least at this point, I cannot imagine for AI to completely pick up on.
No, I can't either. Just there's certain things that are human, period. And all the AI in the world cannot replace them. This is a fascinating discussion. I'm really digging this. I don't know. I hope everybody who's listening gets a lot of value, but you've given me all kinds of takeaways already. I can tell you that. Now,
I love it.
one of them is I have a ChatGPT window up here. I'm about to put in a prompt. You're scaring me a little bit here, Kamilla, but here we go. Tell me 10 things I must improve. Be critical to be the best keynote speaker in the world. What else should I have? Use everything you know about me and don't suck up. Anything else I should put in there?
I think that's a good one. Well, I guess like best keynote in the world in which field?
Oh, okay, that's fair. The best keynote speaker in goal achievement, AKA chicken frying in the world. All right, let's see what it does. Dun, dun, dun. Sharpen your positioning. I will put this in the show notes. I'm fine with it. Show hard quantifiable outcomes. Upgrade your stage video assets. Multiply your distribution channels. You're doing newsletters, LinkedIn, and short-term video, but you're not on TikTok. Oh man, I've got some work to do. Scale the intellectual property. Raise your price ceiling strategically. Oh, dang. I want to dive into number 6 and how it's going to get me to those kind of numbers. This is cool. Aggressively leverage AI as a competitive moat. You are 99% ahead of speakers in AI experimentation, but you bury the lead. Holy crap. I owe you a drink the next time we're together at one of Amy's conferences.
I'll take the drink.
And not just at happy hour when they're free. Okay, create a signature viral moment on stage, make your audience transformation faster, systematize referrals and bureau relationships. Focus on 1, 2, 3, and 5. Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
Good.
And now you can even ask more questions. What are my first steps? Like you can actually have it really, really created. Put it on a table for me for the next 2 weeks. What is my plan to enhance those items? Like you can actually, like there's so many things you can do.
Oh, this is so cool. Thank you so much.
Look at me talking about AI more than just
if you're listening to this and you want to be the best in the world, you just saw how it can work. All right, I'm blown away. I need a moment. Okay, let's talk about, tell me about the Dream Network. I think this is really cool. So tell me about the dream network that you created.
Um, so my dream methodology is oh, there's like so much to tell about it. So I'm like trying to figure out where to start even. But like where it originated from, it's like that is actually my life story, right? So I've always been in a place where I've had this really big idea, and there is some part of me always knew that I was going to get there. And through some actions, I had no idea how I was doing it, but I would always get to that outcome. Like I actually, in my book, I write it that every single time I had a big goal, like I've reached it. No matter, maybe it wasn't with an exact timeline, but I've always been there. And sometimes the timeline was like super fast, like unexpectedly. Sometimes it took longer. But what I realized was that one thing, so it became like a rush for me, right? Like I was like, okay, I know how to reach goals. I'm gonna just go and do it. But at some point I realized that I really like, even though my life felt really exciting on the outside, there was like this emptiness on the inside, like that like little voice that's a little like drop, 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 you know, like in my head. And I lived in New York City at that time. Like I lived New York City at that time, I would say, right? Like I was always out and about, having such an amazing time. And I was like escaping, really. I was like avoiding that noise. And yeah, so one time the pandemic hit, all the external stuff kind of faded away, and I was left on my own, and I realized that what I didn't know how to do was actually understand what I wanted, and how to actually like recognize my values. What were my values to begin with? Like at that point, my values were, I was told what success looked like, and I was going and proving that I could do success. But like, what did it actually mean to me? No idea, right? So, and it took me like good 5 years to actually dive really deep. At some point within those 5 years, I went to coaching school, and I understood what values were and how to actually still be able to not lose that ambition, to be that person who like try, like, you know, sets goals and loves to reach those goals, but also every time knowing why I'm going after those goals. So, and I think that's why dream is so important for me. And my company is called You Dream, You Do, right? So you set the goal and you actually act on it. Um, but the most important thing, why it's dream and not necessarily goal, is because for me, dream is the same thing as a goal that comes from your heart. So, and yeah, that's a long and short answer about the dream. Not what it does necessarily, but where it came from.
That that is really cool. Well, we'll put links in. If people want to know more about it, they can reach out to you. The dream framework.
Fabulous.
Okay, so I don't know how old you are, but I know you're significantly younger than me. And I can tell you that this is really cool that this early in life you came to that realization and created the Dream Network, because it's only been a few years for me. And I hear what you're saying about, is the things that are bringing you happiness, the things that are really important to you. Because I was a check the goal off the list junkie. But it didn't matter. I mean, it did matter, but it didn't matter to me whether it was my goal or somebody else's, right? So at some point, I'm like, why am I checking off everybody else's goals? Who's running my life? Because it's not me. And it took me a long time to come to that realization, but I finally did. And so it sounds like you got there early, and it also sounds like you can help other people get there. Is that fair?
Absolutely. And I think that because I was in that position, right, because I was that person, I see that fear of people when people talk about, about values, or about when we talk about culture at work, right? When we talk about exactly those things, right? People think that if they start leaning in to the soft skills, right? So, or like those softer notions, they're going to lose this drive. They're going to lose this ambition. And I'm here, like this is like my mission, to let people know that that is absolutely not true. The truth is actually that you can only truly sustain that ambition and sustain that goal if you're attached to your values. Because at some point, and that is why I have all of my clients, because at some point in our life, we get to the point when we realize that we're so disconnected with the life we've built. So the sustainability of that, it's not there, right? So only when we actually know the why behind our ambition, only know when we know the why behind our goal, only then we can actually not only reach it, but exceed every one of those expectations, because we know why we're building what we're building. Because it becomes like the rush becomes not to the next milestone and feeling miserable that we're not there, but like being excited that we're where we are and wanting to do more. So it's like such a different, like just such different energy.
I I could not agree with you more, because when I started thinking in that way, I find that I'm getting more done, and it means a lot more to me. And just the days are so much better. The days were good before. I'm sure your days in New York City were good before, but are they not better now?
So much better. So much better. I just recently had this realization. I was traveling last week, and on Monday I had eight. I mean, I never take more than 4 clients a day, but I had 8 clients a day because I just had to like, realign my week. And after my 8th client, it was just like also a fascinating session. I closed my laptop and I'm like, oh my God, like, I mean, part of me wanted to stay there and like type those notes out and like send this. And I'm like, I'm not tired even one bit. Like I have so much energy. Like I could have screamed from the roof. Like, I mean, and that I've never had that before. Like, I mean, the life was great, but it was like, I wanted to get out of those tasks, like put in minutes to get, who wants to do that stuff, right? Like, first of all, now you have AI, of course, to help you, but it's just like the excitement around around what you do and the mission behind it and seeing changes in those people's lives. I mean, that's you just can't compete with that.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, I years ago I would take my Outlook calendar, and this was the start of all of this, and I would color code the meetings and the time as to whether it was something that was part of what I wanted to do in life, part of my long-term goals, or something that was something I really didn't want to do but had to, or something that I was doing what I, even if I didn't have to. And so I was looking for all the red meetings and all of the, I think, yellow meetings. And I'm looking at the calendar going, this is way too much red and way too much yellow. I'm attending the meetings, I'm checking them off, but they aren't the green ones. And it just was this visual that hit me in the face. I said, wow, time to
That is
change. So
such a beautiful way to do that, Phil. Like, I mean, that is actually that type of like that type of calendaring or like planning, right? Like even the checklist, if you will, right? Like that's what really keeps us aware of where our time goes. Because most of us, we just like go into our day, we dive in, and the day has passed by, and the year passed by, and a month, like like 10 years passed by, and we're like looking back and we're like, okay, what why have I not been able to get to where I wanted to be? And most of us say, I just do not have time. But the truth is, we all have the same amount of time.
exactly.
How
Yeah.
do we prioritize it? And that is awareness. And AI can prioritize things for you excellently. But what it cannot
Yes.
do is actually attach, right? Or compare, I guess, align, that's a word that I'm
Yeah.
looking for, align with your values, right? Like how does this task actually feels, and how does it get you closer to your goal? So there's like a different emotional component. So I love that you were doing that, and that's just excellent tool.
Well, and it's hard to argue with when you look at your calendar and you see all the red. It's hard to argue that you're doing what you were put on the planet to do. So, color coding. And again, I'm a nerd, so of course I would have to have a color coded calendar. Tell me
And
about your book.
that's
Oh,
a
go
lot
ahead.
of people have, to learn from that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, no, no. Tell me about your book.
All right. So again, like my initial thing is like to tell you the story how the book originated, and I kind of want to do that. So I was actually leading mastermind exactly a year ago, Okay, so I had this thing about the book in my mind for a really long time. I it just was, again, like, once I figured like that what dream is, right? Once I figured out that you can reach goals while staying aligned, while being happy, like, I just wanted to share it with the world. But then the chicken came and it said, "Who are you to share the book?" I mean, like, who do you think you are? Like, come on, like, right? And that "who do you think I am" was there for a really long time. So I kept like postponing it. It never became serious, right? So I knew what I wanted to do. I knew how I wanted to do it, but it never became serious until a year ago, plus minus. I was leading a mastermind and I promised to be like one of the attendees, right? So like, I was basically, I led it, but I also did all the homework. I shared my results, so it was kind of like mutual, like truly mutual, inclusive mastermind. And one of the questions was around the goal that you've been postponing for so long, and what is going to be the first step that you're going to take toward that goal. And that was a book for me. So I remember communicating it to my group that I signed up for this class, how to write a book, and it just set up the process. So like a year later, or less than a year later, I had my book out, just because like I had the notes and everything else for so long. It just needed to be like put in the actual book. So, and what is the book? I mean, the book is super. I My goal was to make it as easily um digestible for anyone, whether they are into those things, like we talk about manifestation. So I'd never use this word in my business, right? But like, whether you're like all into that world, or whether you're in corporate and you just don't believe in any of this, right? So you don't believe, you just know that there is a goal, and you need to get there, and there's a productivity metrics, there are KPIs, and there is nothing else, right? So my goal for the book was to really connect the two worlds, and to give just a little flavor, if you will, that you can, again, going back to like, hit all the productivity KPIs, but you can hit them actually while actually feeling good about yourself. And I have a bunch of client stories in my book. I have a little bit of my personal story in my book, how I've kind of managed to reach some of my milestones. And it's a very simple, it has a lot of exercises. So the feedback that I get about my book mostly is, which like makes me so happy, is like, I've always known I wanted to do this. Now I know the first step I need to take to get there. Like,
Nice.
this is it, right? Like, if you know your first step, then after that first step, what is the next step? What is the next step? What is the next step? And like, this is the only way you can get there. Because when we start looking at the big goal, and we don't know what gets us, or the distance between us and that goal, and if that distance is like, feels too overwhelming, can get there.
We will have links to your book in the show notes. What is the title of your book?
It's called Dream Your Reality,
Dream Your
an
Reality.
ultimate guide, the ultimate guide for anyone with a goal.
Fantastic. Links available in the show notes. All right, now we have to get to the chicken questions of the show. We start with the standard one, which actually has changed a little bit in the last few weeks. The question is, which would you rather fight? A bear-sized chicken or 100 chicken-sized bears, and why?
Mm-hmm. Oh, um, so I would probably choose a bear-sized chicken. And the reason why is because, I mean, I think that in reality, we all fight a bunch of chicken-sized bears, right? So that's the truth of it, right? Because that's really what it is, like, because we're such layered people, like we're so layered, right? Like, we have like, there's always wait, let me just kind of, we're so layered as people. It's like peeling the onion, right? So there's always the next layer, there's always the next fear, there's always the next chicken. So I think this is the reality. What I would choose that big bear chicken, standing in front of me, for me to actually understand what it's made of, all in and outs about it, and like have a strategy of how to fight it. Because the truth is that once I'm over this hump, life is better, right? Like life is like it's done. Basically, there are no more chickens running around. Versus the other way, if we look at the other way around, or at least like no more chickens within that format, if you will. But if we look at the other way around, which is the reality, again, I think it's all about, take going after one chicken-sized bear at the time, right? So it's understanding it, figuring out, and understanding that life is so complex, and it's literally just asking ourselves, what's next? And I think that what's most important in that mindset, again, it's a more reality mindset, is recognizing that there are no mistakes, and some of those bears, like chicken-sized bears, are never going to leave us, right? So we're not fighting them to begin with. Actually, that probably will take me back to my like very basic belief that when we fight something, we amplify it, right? Where attention goes, energy flows. So I always say that instead of fighting your chickens or your bears or your chicken-sized bears or your bear-sized chickens, what's most important is to recognize that that chicken actually served you at some point in your life. And instead of looking at it as your enemy, befriending it as a relative that you probably wouldn't ask for advice from, but they're there. They are going to be there. So we don't wait to kill, if you will, those chickens, right? That's not what we want to do. What we want to do is we want to understand where they come from and understand how to move on having them.
That's really good. I like the point that the chickens served you at some point in life.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of the stress that we have and the fears that we have served us, maybe not in this life, but way back when. Stress was a good thing if you were worried about walking out of the cave and getting mauled by a saber-toothed tiger. We have the saber-toothed tiger under control, population under control right now, but we still have that stress, and it can be a good thing in small doses. Same deal with chickens. Can be a good thing.
So the truth is, if I put on my coaching hat for a second, we created each one of those stressors at some point in our life because we couldn't handle the situation at hand due to our age, due to our position, due to our beliefs, whatever that was, right? And we said that we need to protect ourselves by putting that chicken, if you will, in place. So again, this is like going maybe too deep a little bit, right?
No,
But
it's
like
not. It's fascinating.
putting a couple of notches up, right? So again, it served us at some point. It served us as a protection at some point because we couldn't handle the situation. If we didn't tell ourselves we're not good enough, we could have been speaking up in places where at the point we couldn't handle the criticism. So at that point, we needed to tell ourselves that we were not good enough because that actually helped us to stay quiet. The challenge that we have with that, because not being quiet almost felt like we wouldn't be able to handle that situation differently. So, but I think it's probably too deep. But
No, you're good.
when we actually the problem that people have is that we never go back and challenge that belief, right? So at that point, it served us because we were little, because we were in a circumstances where we were outnumbered, whatever that was, right? And we created that belief. But as we grow, as circumstances change, as life changes around us, as we achieve so many things, now it's a time for us to say, is that still true? Is me speaking up, is it still scary, right? And when we go and rewrite that limiting belief, the whole thing changes. So it's again that belief was intended to be as an enemy. It was intended to be as a protector. But for that particular time. The problem is that because of emotional connection, we just carry it forward. And that is the bond that we just need to break.
That's really good. Never thought of it that way. Okay, now we're going to bring ChatGPT online. The voice's name is Maple.
Okay. Hi,
Let's
Maple.
start. Hello, Maple. Are you ready with 3 questions for Kamilla? Answer yes or no, but don't give me the questions yet.
Yes, absolutely ready. Just let me know when you want them.
Okay, we're going to do the questions one at a time. So please ask question number 1.
All right, here comes the first one. Question number 1. What's a leadership lesson you learned the hard way that you now love sharing with others?
What is a leadership lesson you learned the hard way that you now love sharing with others? And you have the right to pass these.
No, I love this one. And it actually brought me back like to, clearly to my corporate life. And I think that everybody's a leader. I mean, being an immigrant, being like English as a second language, all those things, right? So not good enough was like not big enough. So it was always there for me. So, or could not be bigger enough, I guess. And I think that for me, I've always felt like I'm not in a position yet to be a leader, or I don't speak eloquently enough to be a leader, or people don't understand me well enough for me to be a leader, all those things. And while saying all those things to myself, I've also completed like huge global projects. So I was seen as a leader by others, but I've never actually recognized myself as a leader. And I think that because of that, I've shied away from asking for that promotion next time, like one extra time, asking for that raise, asking for that bigger project. Again, I was lucky enough that I actually had good leaders in my life who helped me to see my good sides. But what I help others now through coaching is to actually see how much they deserve that seat at the table. Because so many leaders, especially women, especially when I work with minorities, come in and say, you know what, I'm in this position, but I'm not really, I don't deserve to be here. I don't know enough. I have to learn all those things to be here. But they were placed in that position for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And to actually help them recognize that their leadership is seen, and the only people who need to recognize their leadership is themselves, is what's important for me to pass on. And then going back, I think I kind of took 2 lessons in, or brought 2 lessons in. But the first one, I said everybody's a leader. It's leading doesn't mean it's not a title, right? Like anybody can be a leader, no matter how junior you are, no matter whether you have a team or not. It's how you show up, how you lead yourself, how you lead your energy. That's what makes you a good leader. Because by just showing up in your full potential every single day to your workplace, to your community, you influence others. You influence others, and that's what great leaders do. Whew, I think that was like interesting. It just like it took me like the whole on the big spin.
I really like that. Great answer. All right, we're going to bring Maple off of mute and tell her to give us a second question. Okay, Maple, we are now ready for question number 2.
Absolutely. Here's question number 2. If you could teach your younger self one thing about balancing empathy and productivity, what would it be?
Empathy and productivity. That is actually a really, really good one, because when I work with my clients, especially with those high achievers, leaders that come to me and they say, you know what, my team is not doing well enough. They're not working at the level or performing at the level that I'm expecting them to perform, et cetera, right? Like they basically do not deserve, if you will, right, that almost empathy. They do not deserve almost that positive reinforcement. I always say it in this way. I say, when you are an empathetic leader, it's not only you do that for others, which is sometimes hard for those leaders to swallow. But you do it for yourself, because when you are empathetic, you get to gain and collect so much more intelligence from those people that now, having all that intelligence, you can actually use it in the way to boost your productivity. So I think if I were telling that to myself years and years ago, I would really say that productivity is not just to say they all suck, so I'm going to do it on my own and run with that scenario, right? But to actually say, how can I understand people around me better? So I understand each of their strength and each of their, like, how can I support them? It's like help me help you, right? But this, not maybe like a little cliche phrase, but there's a deeper meaning to that. Like, if we understand others, we also can understand how can we empower them to support us, and aka bring us to a stronger productivity.
That's great. So empathy leads to more productivity.
100%. You
No need to
cannot be
balance.
more productive on your own. That's a myth.
Yeah. Agree 100%. All right, here we go. Question number 3. Okay, Maple, we are ready for the third question.
Got it. Here's question number 3. If you could create a dream AI tool that supports emotional intelligence, what unique feature would it have?
Ooh. Am I giving some ideas here? That's an interesting question, Maple. I'm not really sure how, like, what's your, what's behind that question. No, I'm just kidding. I think I would create the visual. You know how we have like voice conversations, but what's missing a lot of times is that visual. As I mentioned, a lot of coaching is not what people say. Actually, most of the time, coaching is not at all what people say, but what people don't say. And what people don't say a lot of times is in their body. A lot of times is in their gestures, emotions, how they, like the smirk, the eye movement. I think if there was something like AI tool created to recognize that, it probably would have enhanced significantly the ability of AI tool to be able to challenge people, right? So again, like, because a lot of times the ass-kissing AIs are just continue leading us in the direction that we want them to go, or we want them to lead us because we don't want to be challenged. And that would give an opportunity for challenging. But I also do not know how plausible it is.
I would assume it could be done where the AI could catch certain facial expressions and then prompt you to say, I noticed this. There's a 35% chance that this is going on under the scenes or something like that. I would assume it could be. It still, in my mind, would be very rudimentary as compared to what you've been able to learn from the years of coaching and the training you've taken. I think there's still a human aspect to it, but it could assist.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's the way AI is, right? It's the intern who can help you. It can help you, but you really don't want to give it the steering wheel. It's your co-pilot, but you still have to drive.
Yeah. Now that you said that, that's true, right? Like, we have the eye recognition and movement recognition. So all of those things, and if we feed them all the kind of NLP, like, information, so it probably can recognize. But again, like, yeah, I'm curious where it takes us. I have no idea.
Stay tuned.
But that would be that.
Great answers. Kamilla, what is one chicken that you still have to fry?
I think for me, it's showing up in my full authenticity. And that's one that I like. There's a lot of there's a lot of depth, there's a lot of story that I still kind of, sometimes not fully putting out there, just because there are things that I feel like maybe they're not really that relevant, or maybe I'm not ready for them to be fully out there. And I think that's what I want to do, right? So for me, and that's actually, if I ask AI similar question to what you've asked, Phil, like that, it would tell me that I'm playing safer than like I have more to share, and I play in that safe arena for now.
The playing it safe chicken. That's all right. There.
Awesome, it's gone. I love
It
it.
flew away. I have to go over to that
Whoa.
side of the office and clean up the chickens before the dogs have to come down here for a visit, because they love chickens.
I
Whether
cannot,
they're rubber chickens
especially the
or
ones that make noise.
yes. Well, that one made noise. Fantastic. We caught it that time. Awesome. By the way, if you've been listening to the show, sometimes we do have to, because Zoom will filter out the chicken noise. Sometimes we have to edit it in the post, but it's all about the rubber chicken noise, no matter how we get it there.
Well, I guess this one was strong enough for
It
chicken to
was.
actually come through.
That one may have to be fried twice.
Exactly.
Kamilla, what thoughts do you have to leave with us for your final message?
I'd say start recognizing your chickens not as your enemies, but as parties, if you will, that were needed at some point in your life, and then slowly move them away. As you're frying them, don't fry them with empathy. Like, if that makes sense.
Good
Don't
chickens.
fry them fry them with empathy, rather than frying them with that negativity and with that with that hatred. So it's a strong word, but I think a lot of us kind of have that feeling. And I think that just take one step at a time, and you got it.
That is beautiful. I knew when we met and we were at that dinner in Chicago, I knew this was going to be a fantastic podcast, and I was right. You have given us so much wisdom. Thank you for your time. We will put notes on how to find you on the websites, on LinkedIn. Thank you for helping me personally in this time, and thank you for helping everybody. And until next time, keep frying your chickens, everybody.
Thanks, Phil.